What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday recap and AP poll reaction. The AP poll just dropped, but first, we're almost to 200,000 subs. Did a bunch of live reactions yesterday. Make sure you check those out. If you're not subbed, get us close to that 200,000 mark. Remember, without you, there is no us. David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, joining as usual, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver, Blaine Crain. Guys, just to let the audience know, we're going to be recapping some of the games from yesterday that we didn't live react to. So here at the end, when we get done talking about this AP poll, whether we love it, whether it's okay, or whether we hate it, if we don't talk about your game, it's probably because we did it yesterday from Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Alabama, South Carolina, Auburn, Arkansas, LSU, A&M. You go down the list. We talked about it, but we're going to hit on the others today as well. But guys, first, starting off, as we do on Sunday, here is the AP poll as it just broke. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, A&M 3, Alabama 4, Georgia 5, Oregon 6, Ole Miss 7, Georgia Tech 8, Vandy 9, Miami 10. All right, BYU is tied with Miami at 10th in votes. So that's a real thing that can happen.
Does that count?
I mean, I
Does that
guess.
count as the top 10?
I guess. So there's no 11, so it goes 2 10s and a 12. So 12 is Notre Dame. Texas Tech is 13, Tennessee 14, Virginia 15, Louisville 16, Cincy 17. Oklahoma drops to 18, Missouri drops to 19, Texas moves up to 20, Michigan at 21, Houston and Willie Fritz, we told you it was a matter of time, hops in at 22, USC is at 23, Utah's at 24, and Memphis with a big win over South Florida. Great pick, David. Is at 25. Guys, I mean, it's hard to argue, really, when I look at the top 5. Again, Georgia only lost to Alabama. We know Alabama lost to Florida State. They find a way to beat South Carolina on the road. Oregon at 6. Okay. Ole Miss at 7. You did go on the road and beat Oklahoma. We know what that means, especially for Ole Miss moving forward. But Georgia Tech kind of gets jumped a little bit. Georgia Tech undefeated, David. Sitting there at 8. So, again, without going back through the top 7, the top 7's all made up of SEC and Big Ten teams. We have the ACC at 8 and 10. We have a Big 12 team at 10. Obviously, Notre Dame's independent. And then you got kind of a mixed match. Just your instant reaction, Cone. What do you think? Where are the biggest holes? What do you love? What do you hate?
Yeah, I think you brought up an important point there. There's clearly an anti-ACC and anti-Big 12 bias when it comes to this poll and many polls across the country, whether warranted or not. That's a completely different conversation. But like you said, Georgia Tech just keeps on rolling undefeated. They can't get higher than 8. They're getting jumped. Same thing with BYU. I just think this week is particularly funny because last week I was advocating for BYU to be in the top 10. I did pick them this week. They had a great win. The best we can do is you're tied with Miami for 10th. Sorry about that, which we need to get into that Miami game playing Stanford at home. That thing was close early, then Miami blew the doors off. One thing I did want to mention that I don't know if we got to last week or not, this was when Michigan was ranked 25th and USC was unranked. Now USC is ranked 23rd and Michigan 21st after beating Michigan State. Paul Bunyan stays in Ann Arbor. I know we're going to talk about that game. I mean, both those teams are 6-2. USC is 5-2, but they both have 2 losses, and USC beat Michigan by 3 touchdowns. So that one's a little bit weird to me. I don't know what other discrepancies you guys see right here off the bat.
Blaine, there's nothing that I think is incredibly egregious. I would say,
there's nothing you think there that's incredibly egregious.
And again, I grade the AP poll knowing how many people that vote on this that really don't even watch the sport and don't know what they're talking about. I actually think the gap between the SEC and the Big Ten as compared to the ACC and Big 12 warrants this. Look, y'all know I've been a big proponent of Brent Key. I get it. You look at our power rankings, we're giving Georgia Tech some love there. But Ole Miss, again, when you look and your only loss is on the road at Georgia, and you put up a good fight in that one, then you go on the road and beat Oklahoma. We'll see how Oklahoma finishes with that schedule. I can understand it a little bit. My only question is if that bias is intact and Ole Miss is sitting at 7, how in God's name is Oregon at 6, Ole Miss at 7, and Vandy comes in at 9 after beating Missouri, where their only loss is on the road at Alabama, which I mean, I don't even have to argue it's a better loss than Ole Miss's because even the AP put Alabama in front of Georgia. But if we're to the point
well, then
where
how is Texas ranked? I mean, how is Texas
okay.
a top 20 team in the country? Like, I mean, at some point, like, you got to be taken seriously if you're going to put this thing out.
No, I get that part. But, I mean, again, they did find a way to win that game at Mississippi State.
Okay, so then in that case, like, Georgia Tech just finding ways to win, like, move them up there to the top then.
Well, I mean, if we're arguing, Georgia Tech moving up to the top 5 or Texas being 20 through 25th, I think that's a little bit of a different argument. I think once you get to the top, it's a little bit different. But I mean, in that case, I do like for there to be consistency. I don't want it to be contradictory. I know the amount of people that vote on this is almost impossible to not make it contradictory. Blaine, you said you acted surprised when I said I didn't think there's anything that was
a couple of glaring things here to me. One, and I'm sure David will like this. How in God's name is Navy not ranked?
So I'm just tired of saying it.
Well, David,
they're not going to rank them. They don't care who they beat. They don't care how many wins they have.
Dude, I'm watching
stay under the radar.
I'm watching the South Florida Memphis game, and they're putting up the percentages of group of 5 teams to make the college football playoff, and Navy wasn't even up there. I don't know if anybody else caught that. They weren't even in the graphic. It was like Memphis, USF. There was like 3 or 4 other teams from the group of 5. Navy wasn't even on there. I don't understand that one, and we can't sit here and act like Memphis's loss against UAB was anything else other than terrible. So Navy, I would say, hell yeah, I get that one. But Blaine, what else? You act like there was multiple things.
Well, yeah, I think. Excuse me, I don't know what's going off. One, I think Iowa should be ranked. I mean, at this point, your 2 losses are to Indiana and Iowa State, and you lost to Iowa State by 3. I just think Iowa should be ranked, and there's no reason at this point to me for Oregon to be ranked at 6.
Well,
I think they should drop down. What's Oregon's best win? Penn State. I mean, they're a dumpster fire. I mean, Georgia Tech. I mean, technically has a better win than them. So there's no reason for Georgia Tech to be 8 while sitting undefeated. How do you drop if you're Georgia Tech after winning by 20-plus points at home? I'll never understand it. The same thing for BYU. I mean, sitting at 10. I mean, your schedule is not fantastic, but you've beat competent teams, right? And you look like a very good team, and you had a very good road win. So I could see them going up higher as well. And to be honest with you,
well, who would you put them in front of?
Who would you
put them in front of?
Who?
Who would you put BYU in front of? You put them in front of Miami?
Yeah.
Okay, I can understand. You put them in front of Vandy?
Yeah.
Why? Just being undefeated?
Yeah. I mean, you do have a loss. I mean, it's the same thing. Like you can make arguments everywhere. I think you can make an argument for Indiana being number 1. I mean, I think you can make the same argument for A&M. I agree with David. I don't know how Texas is ranked. They're after you had to storm back against an average Mississippi State team and had to pull something out of a hat to win a football game. I mean, I just don't think you're ranked. It's weird to see Michigan ranked in front of USC, but I understand it. What about Washington?
I don't understand it.
The Washington one doesn't make sense to me. I'll be on that. Why Utah would be ranked and Washington doesn't make sense to me. That one, and this as somebody who picked Washington to make the playoff before the season, now it seems like that one kind of hangs on the Oregon game. But should there be a rule? I want both of y'all's obviously opinion on this. Should there be a rule that once we get past a certain week, let's say week 8, right, where it's damn near impossible to have not played somebody worthwhile or worth their salt by week 8, should there just be a blanket rule for polling that if you're undefeated, that should take precedent regardless of strength of schedule? Or, for Georgia, for example, their 1 loss is to Alabama. Like, should we just say past a certain week, all right, Ohio State's undefeated, Indiana's undefeated, A&M's undefeated, Georgia Tech's undefeated, BYU's undefeated. Those should be the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to have a blanket rule like that, and I understand that no 2 schedules are ever going to be the same. Even if you played all the same teams, sometimes you'd play at home, sometimes you'd play away, sometimes you'd catch a team after they've lost a couple or something like that, so I understand that. But if there's such a disparity between the conferences across the country, then we need to split the teams off and just have separate leagues. Because at some point it gets tiring. Like, if there's going to be so much disrespect for a team like BYU who continues to win games, and look, they're schedule is bottom loaded, right? I mean, they could finish 8-4. Like, I completely understand that, but you could say the same thing for Vanderbilt, right? Like, I don't know if they're going to finish this thing out going 11-1. So if there's so much disparity, let's just split off and have a league that's like the NFL or the NBA or the MLB that has 32 teams and have different tiers of these things instead of trying to figure this out with 130 something teams across the country where we turn up our noses at some of these undefeated teams.
No, I like Code. I would be fine if they started with that rule. Like Blaine, I would be fine if they said, "All right, week 8, that's the cutoff. We are gonna." And I do think you need to limit it probably to Power 4 teams. If you were going to make that rule, again, no disrespect to the group of 5, group of 6, whatever the hell you want to call it. I just think, when you look at the way some of these schedules are constructed, like you look at UNLV's, for example, I think there's a big difference there between what UNLV has played and obviously what BYU has played. But Blaine, I wouldn't mind that rule. I mean, I think it's something that would make sense up to this point, because at least, again, there is some for the coaches, for the players, for the ADs, for the guys that are making the schedule, at least there would be some consistency saying, all right, we get to this point with this record, it's going to be treated this way, not just kind of take everything at face value or, well, strength of resume matters here. It doesn't
no matter what rules make or whatever we're going to do, they're going to find a way to mess us up. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I know the AP poll is one thing and the committee's another, but I'm not excited about either.
Well, I would say at this point, again, I wouldn't trust either. We'll see this season if some of the precedent that was set last year by the committee. And to that point, everybody out there, listen, this is not the college football playoff ranking. ESPN, like it was the all-time tease. I don't know if y'all saw this. They were like college football playoff rankings top 25. And then the other day, and in small letters, it was like based on the AP poll. My brother in Christ, it's not based on the AP poll.
Well, that'll be coming November 4th. We'll get that first one November 4th.
For sure.
And you can tell that there's a trust factor that's taken into consideration when you look down this. And so, sometimes I understand that. Sometimes I'll lean on a trust factor of a certain team or a certain coach or a certain program in a preseason ranking, let's say. But once we've played, 9 weeks of the season, you can kind of tell what you've got in a team and what direction they're going. The reason I make that point is because take something like Indiana, for instance, not a blue blood football program the way they are in basketball, because of what Cignetti did last year, making the college football playoff and now building off that success and really, walking around and with all these sound bites and confidence and sort of this swagger about him. I think that's why you're seeing people say, okay, I have enough confidence to put Indiana at number 2, even though traditionally Indiana isn't a football school. If Kirk Cignetti had done that same thing at Georgia Tech, you might see Georgia Tech at 3 right now, or the same with BYU.
Yeah, there's obviously a big different, a very different characteristic or personality traits between Brent Key and Kurt Cignetti and the way they go about things. But they're both undefeated at this point, both in the top 10, and they both control their own destiny. I'm telling you guys, too, this ACC race is absolutely heating up. It may be the most interesting one to watch down the stretch. But what else is interesting is we have less people getting together at the table for Thanksgiving than we've ever had before. That's why Good Ranchers is challenging families everywhere to get back to the table at least once a week, every week between now and Thanksgiving. They're even doing weekly giveaways for a free holiday ham to help encourage people to gather and connect with others around the table. To enter to win, all you have to do is share a photo of your gathering every Thursday night on your Instagram story. Use the hashtag back to the table and then tag Good Ranchers. It's at Good Ranchers. And if gathering once a week feels impossible, Good Ranchers can help. Their high-quality, 100% American meat is delivered to your door, pre-portioned and triple trimmed, so you spend less time prepping and more time with the people you love. We've had it going on 3, almost 4 years now. It is fantastic. All the boxes, and there's a variety of them depending on the size of your family and what you need. A bunch of our family members subscribe to Good Ranchers as well. So use our code BOOSTER, and you get a free pick of free meat for life. That's free meat for life, not just your first box. So hit up goodranchers.com. Use code BOOSTER for that $40 off plus free meat for life. Goodranchers.com. Let's get back to the table and use that code BOOSTER. Looking at the rest of this, I mean, Blaine, I'm looking at the Big 12 here. You've got BYU. You've got Texas Tech. I mean, Houston's sitting there at 22. And Cincinnati's there at 17. So you got 4. I mean, out of those 4 teams, who do you trust the most?
Utah.
And then Utah right there at 24.
Yeah. Got 5 teams.
Who do you trust the most? Is it Texas Tech?
I would probably say Texas Tech because their one loss. They did not have their starting quarterback, and I know Will Hemmons is a good player, but still, it's not Baron Morton. We also know what Baron Morton can do, and I trust their defense a little bit more. But look, BYU's right there. They're right there. I think the Bachmeister's only getting better and better. It's still weird to see that number run around at quarterback.
It is.
But I would say the two most I trust right now would be BYU and Texas Tech, but I would probably just give the little bit of edge to Texas Tech.
Kevin, what about you?
Yeah, same thing. I still like Texas Tech. This is why I was saying on that road loss that they had for the Red Raider fans not to panic. But the more I watch BYU, the more I like them because now we've gotten a little bit stiffer competition for them. It always is a little weird to me when I see a quarterback playing with a number that's north of 19. But hey, Bear Bachmeier 47. The more I watch them, man, the more I really like that team.
All right. Outside of that, I mean, obviously Bo Prabula goes down for Missouri. I know we're going to talk about that game. I thought the freshman came in and obviously gave him a chance. The Hail Mary ends up at the 1. But just looking at the rest of this race, and we're going to have our power rankings Monday, or we're going to have our college football playoff projections on Tuesday as we get closer to that November 4th date that Cone talked about. David, I want to go back to you. Give me which 2-loss team. So you've got Notre Dame, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Missouri, Texas, Michigan has 2, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. Outside of all that group, which is the team that you trust most? Do you trust Tennessee more than Notre Dame? Do you trust Notre Dame more than Tennessee? Kind of where do you fall on that?
Notre Dame right now. I mean, when they lost to Miami on the road, we kept saying, why aren't they giving Jeremiah Love the football? It was a weird game plan. They were getting absolutely torched in man coverage on defense. I think they've improved on defense, at least to the point where they're at least committing holding penalties now and pass interference penalties rather than just getting torched in man coverage. But that side of the ball, I mean, I'm joking, that side of the ball is getting better a little bit. The offensive side of the ball, I think they're one of the best offenses in the country, and CJ Carr is going to play on Sunday one day. So I understand that they lost to the 2 best teams they played. I still was impressed with the win that they had over Southern Cal. So for a 2-loss team right now, I really like Notre Dame's path moving forward.
And Notre Dame, the rest of their schedule, they are at Boston College on November 1st. They play Navy at home on November 8th. Then they go to Pitt. They get Syracuse at home, then at Stanford, a very manageable schedule. And I mean, Blaine, you've said it since they lost their second game, a 10-2 Notre Dame's still going to get in. I'm just wondering, with the precedent that was set last year with Indiana at 11-1, could there be an ACC team? Could the ACC possibly get 3 in? And if that were to happen, would Notre Dame be the odd man out? I don't think a 9-3 team is going to get in this year, the more that I look at it. But do you see that possibility, or is Notre Dame a shoe-in at 10-2?
The Notre Dame's in the playoffs.
Already in.
They're in the playoffs. Unless they lose again, which I don't think the best, odds we have really for them losing is against Pitt on the road. But look, after Notre Dame beat USC, you can pencil them in for the playoffs. And look, and this might sound crazy, but they keep playing the way that they're playing, I think they're going to be a playoff team. If this defense keeps figuring out, because at the end of the day, look, USC, they're a high potent offense. You only gave up 24 points. You gave up 7 to NC State that can rack up points. I think Bailey, the quarterback there, is fantastic. Boise State only gave up 7, only gave up 13 to Arkansas. Since that Purdue game, this Notre Dame defense somewhat has figured it out, and it's not surprising because they're a Marcus Freeman coach team, right? Yeah. They're going to get better defensively week in and week out. The biggest question to me about this Notre Dame team coming into the year, at least, was CJ Carr. Is he good enough? Because they didn't go to the portal.
And he is.
Right? They didn't go get a Riley Leonard out of the portal. They went in-home, CJ Carr, and he's everything and more what I thought he was going to be. So if Notre Dame wins out, yes, they should be.
And honestly, the Texas A&M loss at home now is looking like it might even be a better loss than on the road at Miami.
For sure. And look, I know we're going to talk about Miami in a second here. I've got a few questions kind of on how they've come out and looked up front. But it is a better, to that point, Cone, it is a better looking loss. Obviously right now, I mean, A&M's 8-0. pretty much, can pencil them in unless they just fall absolutely flat on their face. But if Marcel Reed keeps playing like this, they're not. Anything else in this AP top 25 y'all want to talk about before we get into some of these games that we didn't react to on all of our shows yesterday?
Yeah, I just want to ask again about Texas, like we talked about a little bit earlier. Right now, ranked 20th. Obviously, overtime yesterday against Mississippi State, they were down by 17. I mean, for Mississippi State to lose that game at home, that's just gut-wrenching. Obviously, Kentucky also took Texas to overtime.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys, an Arch went out of that game yesterday. Backup quarterback comes in, throws that fade in the end zone in overtime. And you had all of this week with the report saying that Steve Sarkisian would be interested in coaching in the NFL again and might want the Titans job. And I mean, he came out yesterday and just torched the media and said, this is absolutely irresponsible of you guys. I keep a close circle. If I wanted this news to get out, like we would have put out that statement, or it would have been, it would have been a natural flow of information to find its way to the media or whatever. His statement was so emphatic and beyond anything that I've seen a coach do, beyond like the coach speak of, no, I'm here in the middle of a season, that he actually like kind of won me over that wasn't something he had talked to his agents about. I just wanted to know what you guys thought.
Well, look, as far as Texas as a team, I think they are who they are. I mean, I don't think this is some sort of snap your fingers and in week 10, week 11, all of a sudden this Texas offense looks like, a brand new oiled machine. They look like one of the best teams in the country. I don't think you're going to get that. I just think they are who they are. And I don't want to I don't want to not take one guy seriously because another guy said something. But after what Nick Saban said about the Bama job, I just can't trust anything a coach says anymore. And that's not Steve's fault. I know, but Nick Saban was as emphatic and as thorough in debunking that during that press conference as I think a coach could possibly be. And obviously we know that he did a 360 on that. With Sark, I just wonder, if Texas wins that game yesterday, 42-10, does he even say anything about it in the post-game presser? So do I think he'd be smart to take the Titans job and leave Texas? No. But I do understand when a coach is under a little bit of heat that having that a little bit of leverage isn't the worst thing in the world. And whether they're dispelling a rumor or coming down harshly on the media, they seem to want to kind of bring that up just to remind everybody that they're wanted by somebody else. I don't know, but I see what you're saying, Coney. And I do think with what Sark's been through, I'm sure his circle is probably very small in who gets to know information. But this Texas team is just, and how is Texas ranked and Washington isn't? It's very simple. One of them is called Texas and one of them is called Washington. That's the problem that I have. And Iowa too, to that point. Right? I think Iowa should be in there instead of Texas. I just think they are who they are right now.
Yeah, no, that's not surprising either. I mean, it's one of those things with Texas. One, what do you expect Sark to say? Right?
Well, he's the one who brought it up. It wasn't like someone asked him about it.
Yeah. Which it got so big to the point where you can't not bring it up. And it just blows my mind. Like, where do these things start? Did someone wake up in the morning and say, hey,
I'm going to create a rumor.
Today, I'm going to create a rumor that Steve Sarkisian is open for NFL jobs and he wants the Titans job. That would just blow my mind if someone woke up in the morning and did that.
It just instantly chose violence.
Yeah, I understand Steve coming out.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me
at all.
Looking for NFL jobs. I mean, NFL is the highest level of football. So, no, I'm not surprised. It's just like it's one of those things to me. Like, there's no way that just started out of thin air.
Yeah, I think what's more likely is you have these general managers of a team and a franchise like the Titans who are just scrambling to try and find some sort of answer, who reach out to Jimmy Sexton or a representative and say, would Steve Sarkisian be interested at all if we put an offer together? And the response is probably something like, we're interested in every offer in the world. And you have someone on that desk who maybe tells a friend and they're like, hey, Steve Sarkisian's interested in taking NFL jobs.
Hey, we left him a voicemail.
It could be. Yeah, exactly.
Right, look, I'm not coming, but I still want you to invite me.
Yeah. I want you to say out loud that you wanted me just because it makes me look better, and we're playing like shit on offense right now. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move into some of these games we didn't talk about yesterday. Again, we reacted instantly to Ole Miss beating Oklahoma, Auburn somehow winning a game against Arkansas, Alabama surviving South Carolina, that A&M ass beating of a lifetime that they gave to LSU down there in Baton Rouge, which we sat there and said yesterday, BK, there's no way they fire him. I don't know. I'm looking at some intriguing. Somebody's getting fired on that staff. And Blaine, you said they just need to wipe the whole offensive staff. I think you're probably right, and most likely that's what's going to happen. But one of the games we didn't instantly react to, and this is where College Game Day was, in our backyard, up here in Nashville, Vanderbilt survives, finds a way. They beat Missouri. We know Bo Prabula. Some are calling it a dirty play. I can understand why some people would say that when you watch it. Again, if you've never been on the bottom of a pile, like it's not fun down there. And I'm not excusing what happened. If there was something malicious, I've seen a lot worse. But it did look like, oh boy, kind of knew what he was doing. I just, I look at this Vanderbilt team, and you're 7-1. You're 3-1 in the SEC right now. It was ugly. It was a lot more low scoring than a lot of us thought. But again, finding ways to win games, whether that's 31-24 against LSU or 17-10 against Missouri, or even beating Utah State 55-35, Vanderbilt finds a way. And Blaine, I want to start with you. I saw a lot of stuff about Diego Pavia for Heisman. He didn't have a Heisman day yesterday. I think Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson are really separating themselves from a lot of the pack. But it doesn't matter. He just wants to win the game, and they beat another ranked team, which right now, if you look at Vanderbilt's schedule, they beat South Carolina on the road 31-7. South Carolina was ranked 11th at the time. They lost to Alabama on the road. They beat 10th ranked LSU, and they just beat 15th ranked Missouri. Now they're going to go on the road to Texas. 10-2 gets you in if you're Vandy. So the magic number is you got 4 left. You got to win 3. Can you split at Texas and then at Tennessee the last game of the year? You get Auburn and Kentucky at home in between, and I think you're in.
You're 1,000% in with that schedule. at 10-2, whether you lose to Texas or Tennessee. That doesn't mean you can't take Auburn or Kentucky lightly, right?
For sure.
At the end of the day, they're an SEC team and they're talented. But it's just crazy to me how Vanderbilt won this football game, right? And I think it says a lot about Clark Lee and the way the staff is. Go look. I know stats aren't everything. I understand that, and I understand that your quarterback broke his foot in the second half. But right now, Missouri, 22 first downs to Vandy's 13. Third down efficiency, Missouri 6 for 16, Vandy 3 for 10. Passing, Missouri 210, Vandy 130. Rushing, Missouri 170, Vandy 130. Penalties, you were even, and you were even on turnovers. Missouri beat you from a possession standpoint 36 minutes to 23 minutes.
It's just
you
lost every statistical category.
You lost in almost every single stat. But yet we sit here and you found a way to what? Win the football games. And we say the same thing about Alabama and Georgia and all these high-ranked schools, right? Great teams find what? Multiple ways to win football games. And that's what Diego Pavia and Clark Lee did at home, game day there against a really good Missouri football team. Look, they're as good as anybody in the country at this point.
Well, David, to that point, I think Vanderbilt played maybe their worst game all year offensively in this one.
Yeah.
And you survive. You survive in advance. Defensively, I know, again, the stats were lopsided to Missouri, but it wasn't like Missouri was hitting huge explosive plays. You held them to 10 points. And Prabula got hurt later in the game, but it wasn't like he got hurt the first or second drive, and you had Matt Zollers out there.
And Zollers still led a touchdown drive.
And he still led a touchdown drive. He was one of the one touchdown you scored, right?
Like 12 plays, 75 yards.
Yeah. Obviously you want to give Vanderbilt their flowers. They survived this one, but you feel like Missouri, as good as Zollers looked at some points and as good of a story as this has been, with matchups left against A&M, then you play Mississippi State, both those games at home. Then you go to Oklahoma, then you go to Arkansas. it feels like the championship aspirations of the season ended yesterday with Bo Prabula's injury, and I hate that for him, and I hate that for the fan base.
Yeah, but also, I don't know how many people had actual championship aspirations for Missouri. I still think this has been a heck of a season. I think they've overperformed my expectations, certainly. And yesterday, even in a loss, is just another testament of that. And you guys were seeing clearly the same thing I was. They out-Vanderbilted Vandy. Especially when you talk about winning the time of possession like that, winning third down and rushing for more yards and throwing for more yards when your backup played half the game. But again, on the flip side of that does just speak to Vanderbilt's resilience and finding a way to win this game, because I do think that team could possibly make the college football playoff, which is crazy that we're saying that, and it is good for college football. I do want to say, to your point about the play that knocked Bo Prabula out there, I watched it. I didn't find anything dirty with that tackle, and I saw some people online saying that was a dirty play. I didn't see it that way. These guys are right at the goal line in a one-score game where literally an inch is the difference between you winning or losing that football game. Literally an inch could be the difference between you making the college football playoff or not making the college football playoff. I think you got a guy just trying to wrap up a ball carrier and tackle him. I'll watch it again if somebody wants to show me some evidence that they really think it was a dirty tackle.
Yeah, I didn't think it was as egregious as what people said, but again, just unfortunate. They put him in the air cast, and it's going to be Zollers the rest of the way. And again, Prabula still has eligibility, so it wasn't like this was his last go around. So hopefully he's able to heal up, come back even stronger. Missouri seems to have a pretty good foundation that they've built there, and they always stay with a couple guys that can rush the passer. We know that about Missouri, but Vandy survives and moves on. Speaking about surviving and moving on. Look, we talked about the AP poll reaction. I mean, BYU's 8-0. They're 5-0 in the Big 12. And if you watched that game yesterday, which I did, Iowa State was beating their ass a little bit in that first half. And you felt like it could kind of get away from BYU a little bit. You wondered if BYU was really built to be able to come from behind. I mean, you go into half. You're down 24-17, so you're still in the game. It's tied going into the fourth quarter. You're on the road in the fourth quarter. You go score on a big 50-50 catch that was made that Bachmeier put up there, and I think it might have been a switch release to the slot guy. I can't exactly remember the route combo, but it was a hell of a catch. I believe it was Parker Kingston was the one who caught that. And then you get a pick six literally right after that. And you're able to hold Iowa State scoreless in the fourth. You end up winning, by 14, making it look a lot worse than it was, dropping to 5-3, 2-3 in the Big 12. And all I keep hearing is about how, Bachmeier is really just an athlete playing quarterback. He's not really a great passer. He's just kind of out there running around and doing his thing. Well, the man went 22 at 35 for 307 and 2 touchdowns yesterday through the air. He good? Also led him in rushing with 50 yards on 12 carries and a touchdown. I know Carson Hansen went off. There's some questions I think about BYU that we can still ask, but I'm done doubting these guys. I picked Iowa State. I'm done doubting BYU. Now, I will say they play Texas Tech. I'm probably going to pick Texas Tech. That'll be the only time. But BYU,
I doubt them again.
I mean, again though, like, how good is this team? Like, when you look at BYU, David, when you look at BYU and Georgia Tech, like, who are you taking neutral site right now?
We have asked that question about every single team in the country at this point. I mean, we're even asking that question about, like, Indiana. When everyone's getting a scare, Indiana's just blowing people out. And we're like, well, man, how good are they really? What about the Buckeyes? Is that win over Texas any good, with Texas sort of struggling down the stretch? We've asked the same question about every team, which is what is going to make this the best college football playoff ever when we get to this postseason. But, yeah, I mean, imagine giving up 17 points in the first quarter and then holding your opponent to 3 points for the entire second half. That's what BYU did. And again, the ability to force those turnovers, that's the real story of the game. BYU, not a single turnover. They forced 4. I mean, that's a good recipe to win road games right there.
Blaine, I want to say I think Kalani Sitake has done the best coaching job all season.
Out
of all the coaches. Well, you lose your quarterback,
sure,
right? We all know why, right? Got caught his hand in the cookie jar a little bit. You did lose a lot of production too off last year, but you just replace him with Bear Bachmeier, who's like 12 years old, and now you're sitting up here ranked top 10 in the country, sure, tied for 10th in the AP poll, staring the college football playoff right in the face. And I brought up the rest of the schedule. I mean, you go to Texas Tech. I mean, that sucks, right? We'll see the quarterback situation there, but then you get TCU at home. You go to Cincinnati. That should be a hell of a game. Then you get UCF at home. Does a 10-2 BYU get in? If they lose to Texas Tech on the road, and then they go lose to ranked Cincinnati on the road, and they beat TCU and they beat UCF, but they don't play in the Big 12 title game, does a 10-2 BYU team get in?
No, I don't think so. I mean, obviously it depends on what the rest of the field looks like. I mean, I can't.
Would Notre Dame kick them out? Would that be Notre Dame?
They're taking Notre Dame over BYU.
I
would bet all the monies that I have. If they're both 10-2 and BYU didn't win the conference championship, they
might jump undefeated BYU at this point.
Yeah,
I mean,
I do think Kalani Sitake deserves a lot of credit. Like I do.
Who's done a better coaching job than him?
Probably Mike Elko. Yeah, disagree with me.
I mean, look, I don't think there's an absolute black and white exact right answer here. But I do think, Mike Elko did have his quarterback returning, right? I don't think he faced as much change. I mean, you look at what they added through the portal with Concepcion and Mario Craver.
Good job right there, right?
No, it's a great evaluation. I just feel like Kalani Sitake has done more with less. Let me just put it that way.
Okay, I can see that. I'm saying you go undefeated in the SEC, man. Like you can.
Well, and again, we got to see how this thing shakes out, right?
And all the marbles. But yeah, especially in this game against Iowa State. I mean, you want to talk about halftime adjustments? That's what the great ones do. I mean, Kalani Sitake in this defense, after giving up 24 points in the first half, I mean, you came out and give up 3 points for the rest of the game and get big red zone stops in that game. Look, I believe in BYU. They were a 2.5-point dog walking in this game, and I had BYU. And I think David did too. So no, I believe in BYU. Look, you just have to keep winning games. Keep your head down. Keep grinding. Keep doing what you're doing. And I think you found something in Bach in the Bear. I really do.
Well, you've a lot of people now are finding out about Bear Mockmeyer and they've heard of him. But have you guys heard of the bearskin hoodie? David, you've heard of it, right? Yeah, I think you're actually wearing it right now. Well, the smart people, they're locking in their winter gear because this is hands down the best time to prep for the coming winter, and it is coming. It's already here for some of you. Bearskin's also running a 60% off deal right now, but only if you get your hoodie early. It's built like a tank. It's the Derrick Henry of hoodies. 340 GSM micro fleece, 10 pockets with a clean, rugged fit that looks awesome. Plus, it zips right into the heavy storm rain jacket to become 100% waterproof when you need it. So when it turns cold, wet, and windy, you're not scrambling last minute. I mean, Cone, show that bad boy off. Show the people.
Look at this thing.
Look at that guy right here. Look at this guy. You want to talk about protected? Nobody's more protected than he is. You also get free U.S. shipping, fast delivery, and once you've locked in your winter gear, it's a win-win. We all know that. So do yourself a favor. Text the word Crain to 36912 to lock in that 60% off. Again, text CRAIN to 36912. You'll get a link sent straight to your phone so you can check it out later if you're busy right now. So don't wait until you're freezing to realize your hoodie sucks. Get a bearskin now while it's 60% off. Text Crain to 36912. Well, speaking about sucks, I mean, at what point, guys, I mean, this UCLA story was amazing, right? You get Tim Skipper, and then you get Macaulay Culkin, Neuheisel's kid, all that. But then you got to play Indiana, and you just get murdered from the jump, from the second play. All that hope and fairy dust and love and emotions and friendship that UCLA had. I mean, you were lucky to score 6. Indiana scored 14 in the first, 21 in the second, 14 in the third, and 7 in the fourth. And Cignetti still looked pissed when he was walking on the sidelines. The Mendoza brothers combined to go 19-29 for 213 and 3 touchdowns. Each one of them threw a pick. You look at the stat line. I mean, E.J. Williams had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it wasn't like anybody in Indiana just freaked out yesterday. They just beat the hell out of UCLA, Blaine.
And they're not the first ones.
No.
Yeah, for a guy who took UCLA plus 25.5, I knew this was over really quick. Really quick. And I think it just goes to another testament of this Indiana and Kirk Cignetti team. I mean, not only do they win, I mean, they just beat the hell out of people. There's no love lost. There's no, look, we're up 40.
They're sociopathic.
Let's dial it down a little bit.
They're sociopathic with it.
No, we need to score as many points as we can, and we need to beat people as bad as we can, because at the end of the day, it's only going to look better for us. And the way they beat you, man, it's not just like one guy. It's not a superhero out there just beating you. They just collectively all show up and get off a bus and kick your ass, right? And that's what Kirk Cignetti has just implemented in these guys in this program. No one there thinks they're Indiana.
No.
Nobody
They
there.
think they're
None
Indiana
of the players
Jones,
do.
not
None
Indiana.
of the students do. None of the coaches do. This isn't little old Indiana. They think they're it. Like, they are the bag in college football. They are the chosen ones in college football. And to be honest with you, I love it.
Yeah. Well, attitude reflects leadership. I mean, they play like Signetti talks. Like, that's how you know it's simpatico, right? Like, Cone. I mean, you talk about taking on the identity of your head coach. It's like one huge Kurt Signetti organism moving out on the field, just an amoeba that's just eating everything up as it goes.
And I'll tell you, we might get an Indiana Buckeyes Big Ten championship game, and I don't know if I'd be more excited about that or an Alabama Texas A&M SEC championship game.
Let's just get both of them. How about that? Let's just get both of them and be able to enjoy both. I do want to stay in the SEC, and for a second, Mississippi State fans, I don't know what to tell you guys other than you should be as upset as possible. You should. Now, there's obviously hope, right? Jeff Lebby's got y'all in games that a lot of people didn't think y'all were going to be in. But in reality, I mean, Mississippi State, and I know if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. I don't know what ifs and nuts are, but, we can figure that out for another day. Mississippi State, in reality, should be sitting here at 6-2, 2-2 in the SEC. Like, you obviously threw the game away against Florida, and you're up, what was it? 31-14 at one point in that game.
I think they had two different 17-point leads, I believe.
And including overtime, you get beat 31-14 in the second half. Just play bad. Don't play awful in the second half. And that punt return, I mean, just absolutely gutting. And Mississippi State's taking steps. And we can sit here and make fun of Texas. And I know Arch got hurt and Caldwell came in and threw that touchdown pass and they survived and they're still in the hunt. But God, if you have no affiliation with Texas and you're a competitor, you just got to feel for Mississippi State, man. That bus right after the game must have been terrible, Cone.
Yeah, it had to be, man. I feel for that fan base. And it wasn't even the whole second half. I think they held Texas scoreless in the third, but gave up like 24 points in the fourth, man.
Yeah,
like that's just a gut-wrenching way to lose. And I understand that it's exciting to be competitive when a lot of people picked you the last 2-3 years in a row to be the bottom barrel of the SEC. So this is better than the alternative that we've seen the last couple seasons, but still it almost hurts even worse because as a football team, you've got to figure out a way to put a game like that away in the fourth. It's not like a 3-point lead, 17-point lead, and you had it two different times there in the second half. Yeah. But look, all credit to Texas. They did this same thing against Kentucky, finding ways to win just to get to overtime and then close the door.
Another big one, Memphis, and this is a great call, David, beat South Florida. And you want to talk about a fourth quarter? I mean, you felt like South Florida had this game kind of in the bag. I mean, you're sitting there, it's 31-17 going in the fourth, and Memphis coming off just a disastrous performance against a UAB team that just fired their head coach, outscores South Florida 17-0 in the fourth. And Blaine, I want to give all credit to Memphis and Ryan Silverfield, but I watched this game, and it felt like South Florida took their foot off the gas.
A little bit,
It felt like South Florida said, you know what? This game's over. We'll move on. We just got to win out, and we got a good chance to represent the group of five. Not anymore. That one is cooked for South Florida, and now Memphis is still in the hunt, and it's going to get really interesting down the stretch here in the group of five.
I mean, you're walking in up 31-17 in the fourth quarter. I mean, I don't know if you're Alex Golish and you're USF and you're a group of five team. Can you ever afford to take your foot off the gas?
They felt like they
never
did, man.
And this was the most group of five game I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was.
Ever seen in my life. Look, you give up at the end of the day, you have to give credit not only to, the Memphis players, but this Memphis coaching staff. After that, lost against UAB after UAB's head coach just got fired, made that look worse and worse. But at the end of the day, you showed up when it mattered most. I mean, you got beat up those first three quarters, but 17 points in the fourth. And I think Lewis, his quarterback from Memphis, is pretty dang good.
He's sneaky, man.
He's sneaky good. He has great patience in the pocket. He has an absolute howitzer attached to his shoulder. And he has good touch, too, and good feel. So I don't think he gets talked about enough. Sucks for USF, but huge for Memphis. If you look at Memphis, the rest of their schedule, it's always going to come down to It feels like, right, coming down to that Navy game.
Oh, and it's the last game of the regular season. So they've got at Rice, then you get Tulane at home, then at East Carolina. Neither one of those are walks in the park. And then Navy. That could be a de facto playing game. Now, I know that we've talked, David, about Navy and Army and them playing and after the selection and how that's going to work out. I've got no idea. But, looking at the rest of this Navy schedule as well, as they sit 7-0, 5-0, they've got at North Texas in their next game. Then you get at Notre Dame. Listen to these next four. At North Texas, at Notre Dame, South Florida at home, at Memphis.
Yeah. And I mean, we knew that about them, at the beginning of the year. They could lose every one of those games. It gets down to Navy and Memphis playing for a play-in spot. That'll make me happy because I picked Navy preseason, but I've also hopped on the Memphis train here. And they were my favorite home dog this weekend. And to be able to win like that, trailing for pretty much the entire game. I love the resiliency of this Memphis team. They went and took the game from Arkansas late in the game. They went and took this game from South Florida. And I don't know, there's just a lot to like. And when Grammatica lined up for that field goal, I thought, okay, any kicker with the last name Grammatica, man, he's going to drill this thing and we're headed to overtime. But I think it was that penalty right before that happened that pushed him back just far enough, and Memphis able to put it away at home.
And Grammatica is typically very buttery, and again, for South Florida, tough for goal. They're still in the hunt for the American because that other loss we know was to Miami, but it seems like the playoff hopes have now been dashed. Another team that is still in the playoff hunt, they've got a massive one of the biggest matchups of the weekend coming up. Tennessee goes on the road. They handle Kentucky. Really just outscore them, kind of in Tennessee's fashion this year. It's really kind of been who they have been when you look at how they've won games and really even lost them. I mean, Georgia was 44-41, but they now get Oklahoma at home. Both of these teams, the loser of this will not make the college football playoff. The loser of this will not play in the SEC championship game, or at least have a mathematical chance, I believe, at least at this point, to play in the SEC championship game. You feel like they got out of there relatively healthy, David. Is this Tennessee team that plays Oklahoma at home, New Mexico State at home, at Florida, and then you get Vandy at home? Is this the biggest one they've got to get over, or is it going to be Vandy at the end of the year? Because I could see Tennessee winning 4 in a row and making the playoff. I could see this team doing it.
Well, this is what's interesting, and I think the answer to that question is no, because while Oklahoma at home will be a huge game and you have to win it, at Florida, I mean, Tennessee hates Florida with a passion that I can hardly even describe. So anytime you can go on the road to the Swamp in Ben Hill Griffin and get a win, like, they won't be overlooking that. There's a deep hatred. And then Vanderbilt, I mean, that's your in-state rival. They hate them just as much, and you're having to watch them be good and host College game day. So that's what makes this schedule the rest of the way for Tennessee so dynamic and so interesting. I picked Oklahoma on the road in Knoxville preseason. I'm not going to give my pick away here before we get to that, but I like Tennessee more and more that I've watched this Oklahoma team the last few weeks after that John Mateer surgery. But yeah, they need to have their backs against the wall and just take this 1 week at a time. Vanderbilt doesn't exist to you right now. Florida doesn't exist to you. New Mexico State doesn't exist. Do whatever you can to beat Oklahoma. Take it 1 week at a time. And we could see a scenario where Tennessee is hosting Vanderbilt in Knoxville for a winner to go to the college football playoff. Sign me up.
That was what I was going to ask, Blaine. Because, I mean, if you're Vandy and you go lose at Texas, that's still only your second loss. Now, you go beat Texas, it could be a scenario where Vandy is walking in 10-1 into that last game. And if that's the case, we got to talk about SEC championship appearances now, like, and tiebreakers and all that stuff.
We'll get there.
Because I mean, and I know we got to see it all work out, because again, you finish 11-1, there's a really good chance you may be rematching Alabama in the SEC championship game, which is nuts to think about. I don't want to get too far ahead there, but that game against Tennessee at the end could have massive implications for both. I mean, outside of that, obviously, Cone, Michigan, big win against Michigan State. It always is in that rivalry game. They end up winning it, as I pull it up here, 31-20. I know Michigan State had that backdoor cover there in the second half that cost a lot of people a lot of money. What did you think? I mean, Bryce, do it 17 times, but you really don't need to throw it when Justice Haynes is running for 152 yards and 2 tugs on 26 carries. Jordan Marshall gets 110 and a touchdown on 15 carries, and Bryce Underwood scores a touchdown, five carries for 26 yards. I mean, you kind of just did what they gave you.
Yeah, look, for a team like Michigan who has struggled to perform well on the road to go into a hostile environment in East Lansing. Now, Michigan State's not a great football team. We can all agree on that, but that rivalry still means something. This was their Super Bowl. So I thought that it could get hairy here to go on the road in that sort of environment with that sort of rivalry and to have half as many penalties as your opponent to rush for 276 yards. Welcome back, Justice Haynes. Him and Jordan Marshall. I tell you what, it might be the second best running back duo in the country right behind Notre Dame. It really is great. Jimmy Rolder on the defensive side, what a football game he played. Samaj Morgan in the slot and at punt return is just a liability. Michigan has got to move on and figure out something else because it's just not working, man. He's not playing sound football, but they looked better on special teams, and you keep Paul Bunyan in Ann Arbor, which was the main goal of this week for them.
Blaine, I want to shift gears a little bit here with you to the ACC because I'm going to be honest with you. I know Virginia survived against North Carolina. I don't think we all think Virginia is this amazing team. Offensively, they looked really inept yesterday in multiple instances, but they did win. They keep themselves in the hunt. And I know Miami ended up blowing Stanford out, okay? I realize the final score was 42-7, but I don't know what it is these last 2 weeks. And the first half of this game, Miami up front does not look the same, and I can't figure it out because Stanford is really bad offensively. They're really bad on offense. It just is it an effort thing? Is it a playing down to your competition thing? I mean, what do you think it is?
Well, I mean, I will say this: you can't play a bad half of football. That is allowed.
Well, I mean, yeah, but look at the way they played against Louisville up front for 4 quarters. So
sure,
it was 6 straight quarters of it.
I do think they might have been a little bit still stunned after what happened against Louisville, how you got physically dominated in that game. I didn't think Miami thought that could happen to them. And I think that kind of lingered a little bit in the first half of this football game. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you're 7-7 walking in at halftime, and you absolutely drilled them for the second half. You look like the Miami we were all expecting in that first half and in the Louisville game. So I'm really not that worried about it when it comes to Miami. I think Carson Beck has to get back comfortable. Miami has to get back to what they do, and that starts with running the ball. And I think their defense, I know you only give up 7 points, but that first half, I just think your 2 DNs, right, they need to get back to who they were. Ruben Bain Jr. and your other guy, if he's healthy. I know he got a little bit beat up in the Louisville game, but I think Miami's fine. I'm not that worried about Miami.
Cone, Illinois loses on the road to Washington 42-25. Big win for Washington, who is 6-2, and the rest of their schedules at Wisconsin, very winnable. Purdue at home, very winnable. At UCLA, very winnable. And it could come down to what I thought in the preseason for them to make the playoff. You get Oregon at home, and I think that Oregon game is looking a little more winnable than it was at the beginning of the season, especially getting it at home. I know we complained about Washington not being ranked in the AP, and I think we should complain about it. How much do you trust this Washington team after a 17-point win against Illinois?
You know, after I saw the Michigan defense and the Buckeyes defense both be able to hold Washington under 10 points each and really stifle the creativity and the dynamic ability of Damon Williams at quarterback, I think there are other teams that can also do that. So I'm not penciling Washington in to be 10-2 right now. I think they will encounter another loss, but I like their path a lot more than Illinois. And remember, Illinois was one of my preseason college football playoff surprise picks because Brett Bielema had Luke Altmaier returning. This roster, I think, was really built well. Mostly the schedule was built well for them to be able to find a path to the college football playoff. And up to this point, their 2 losses were to the number 1 and the number 2 team in the country. Yeah. I mean, if that were Georgia, they wouldn't have even ranked them 3. They would have found a special 2.5 slot to squeeze them in. But no, now you've picked up your 3rd loss. So look, college football playoff out of the window. Washington's still alive. And that's why I liked Washington being at home. Again, with this expansion of the Big Ten, man, these teams that have to go multiple time zones over, they just haven't been able to get wins that easily.
Yeah. Blaine, you guys got any other games on the periphery? I mean, Cincinnati handled Baylor. They win by 21. They're 7-1, 5-0 in the Big 12. Nobody's really talking about them. Houston and Willie Fritz got a huge win on the road, knocking Arizona State out. You feel like of playoff contention unless they find a way to win the Big 12. Houston now 7-1, 4-1 in the Big 12. We tried to warn people when Willie Fritz got that job. It was a matter of when, not if. But any other ones? I mean, Georgia Tech beat Syracuse's ass too.
Yeah, Jake did coach against Tim David. I heard you ask that, and I'd probably say, look, I know you. I know you won, but Oregon did not look great.
No.
That was weird, man. Because
Well,
Wisconsin's been good against the run and bad against the pass, and Oregon ran for over 200 yards and couldn't throw it.
Well, look, in that game, I know there was it was just, it felt like it was weird, but when I was watching it, like with Dante Moore, he ends up throwing 15 passes, 86 yards. Brock Thomas had to come out. I didn't see, was there an injury to Dante Moore?
That's
I didn't
what I was
see it.
wondering.
Like, it was just, I looked in the game, and all of a sudden, Brock Thomas was in there because it wasn't one, I thought that I was going to have really in the 4-box there. I mean, Jordan Davidson goes for 102. Whittington had 97. You were able to run the ball, but it just, Wisconsin's so bad on offense. They got that late touchdown to make it 21-7. But Oregon's kind of looked like they've regressed a little bit. That's what it, and again, this was at home, right? I'm not losing my mind. This was at home. This should have been an ass beating.
Yeah. It's 32-point spread. So I don't know if Dante Moore got hurt. That'd be news to me. I really didn't watch this game because I thought it was going to be an ass beating. I went back and peeped a couple of highlights. Did not look great.
Yeah, definitely. Cone, any more you want to add on here?
A couple performances to shout out here. North Texas quarterback Drew Mestemaker, 608 passing yards. Just incredible. Now they're going to play an undefeated Navy team. Performance from him was incredible. Is he a freshman? I thought I heard he was a freshman or possibly a redshirt freshman.
Well, you remember he didn't play. He didn't start in high school.
Yeah.
And then I think he was like a baseball player and then decided. Yeah. It's just this crazy
608 passing yards. I think that was like my entire sophomore year in high school or something. Haynes King, 395 total yards, 5 touchdowns, just keeps rolling. Wake handed SMU first conference loss in 3 years. How about that for a stat?
Big field goal. Big field goal.
Rutgers big win. Rutgers wide receiver KJ Duff, 6 receptions for 241 yards and a touchdown. And the last thing I had was Mississippi State first SEC win in 2 years. Scratch that. Scratch that off. I spoke too soon on that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, again, make sure if you're not subscribed, you sub. We're almost to 200,000. Got a big week planned for you. We got our power rankings. We have previews coming out as well. So make sure you're locked into Crain & Company. Go check out all of our reactions from the other games. It was right after they happened. So a lot of good information there. And remember, without you, there is no us. And we'll check you again on Monday.